Hey, what's up? I just decided to make a video about this transmission here. So you can see this is where the input shaft would normally come into the motor, but I just have it. I took out the input shaft on the bottom completely, so I just left this in here for spacing. I think I'm gonna weld this or replace it with a lock collar in the center, because it'll help it. Because as of right now, all I got holding it are so that lock collar, and then that lock collar would be up against the tranny, up against the bushing there, which it does work, but I see issues with it already happening where this is, see that it kind of moves side to side there, because there's a lot of stress being put on the keys here. There's little keyways that these guys rock side to side on, and that's the only thing locating the middle from stopping it from doing this. So you can only imagine that the keys are wearing when it's not in that specific gear. Like if it's in third, all these other ones have to float free on the shaft, and it's not actually floating free, it's being dictated by, yeah, you can see I spin this one, all of them spin no matter what. I spin this one, you can see it's just this guy. And that space there, and the fact that there's nothing else connected to the input shaft, makes it shift really smooth, because these are always spinning these, so you don't, it never clunks, it just shifts like butter. The only time you ever get any trouble is when you like stop completely trying to come out of gear and put it into neutral. That's when it kind of is weird. You gotta like put it into neutral as you're rolling to a stop, and it's easy. Not exactly sure why that is. I'm sure it's something to do with the fact that there's a lot of play in here. But reverse, just can't have reverse, because first and reverse is so close to each other. It's gonna break. No matter what you do, one day you're gonna come out of first and hit reverse, and it's gonna just go right in reverse and just fucking shear the key at the very least. I've actually broken one of these things, which is another thing I want to work on. I could make something like this, I think, that's stronger, and maybe it doesn't even have as much play into the gears, so like when it locks into the gear, it's got, because yeah, there's a lot of room there for it to rotate once it's already locked in. So I can make that beefier. I can make these on like a mill or something, and then make that slot in a lathe. I don't even know. I wouldn't even need a mill. I would need a lathe to make that slot though. I'm gonna make the rest with a freaking angle grinder if I wanted to. But yeah, that's what I did. It's just a piece of 5/8 keyed shaft. The harder it is, the better. Obviously, harder the steel is, the better, because you're working with all these cast iron gears are gonna be spinning on it at some point freely. And also make sure there's room for oil in there, because if it's a press fit, you want to open the gear up or take down the shaft a little bit so you have room for some oil to get between there. Because I've also heard of a guy doing this where he put a bronze bushing into each one of these gears, opened up the bushing, opened up the hole a little bit, put a bushing in there, so that when it's not in this gear and this shaft is spinning inside of this gear, is something to spin against. I don't really see that as a necessity because it's so well oiled in there. I think it's fine. Seems to do alright. I don't get any metal shavings. Don't really get anything. The only problem I've run into so far is this. Get a little bit. I think that could even be me not putting the right size key in there, because that is all determined by the keyway in there. You can kind of see it right there. Right? Yeah. Kind of see it protruding from the shaft, and that's what the shift collar rides on. And that's what engages it to the shaft. You can see these are all spinning, but the input shaft is not. But these are staying still with it. And if I spin the shaft, it does move with it. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is weld this bevel gear to the shaft, and that'll stop it from wanting to go side to side as much, and I'll keep it maybe I'll grind into it, make it an oil slinger, make it fling oil around when it's in neutral. Even it'll always fling oil when it's spinning, which would be nice. Also, this side these are all keyed onto the shaft too. Some of them are small, some of them are like a 1/8 inch key, but I can open that up easily. That's something I could do. But I could put a 5/8 shaft through here if I wanted to, because this steps down to 1/2 inch right here, which is stupid. I don't know why. I feel like it's more machining to step this down to a 1/2 inch and then to just put a freaking 5/8 gear onto it. It's like just a break point they try to make, like the input shaft on this transmission. On the outside where you put the pulley, it's 5/8, and that steps down to 9/16 on the needle bearings, and that steps down to 3/8 on the input shaft gear. 3/8 is ridiculous. You can snap that with a 4 horsepower engine. I've done it before. And it's just not even. They're just a useless transmission until you do something like this. But now it took a modded Predator, and it was a pretty sweet little Predator. It was I want to say it made about 10 horsepower, maybe a little bit less, but it'll take more than that. It'll definitely take more than 10 horsepower. 13, 14 horsepower as it is. It would take probably like a gx200 or a 420 Predator or whatever. You try to put like get any more onto that, you mod a gx200, then you'll probably start breaking this thing. And then you need like a better shaft here. You need to weld the keys onto this shaft, because that's another thing. You start dumping the clutch hard, you're gonna get, open up the key slot. Hardened shaft is better too. Obviously hardened steel is better for that. There's a lot of things that you gotta worry about, but just the stock 212 or even lightly modded 212 Predator, this will hold it all day, no problem. And it's fun as hell too. It goes through the gears. It's like really close gear ratios, so as long as you got it geared right, it's gonna be fun. I think it's best in a front engine setup because the shifter. If it were a linear shift like a PLS 700, it would be cool for a bike, I guess, or a go-kart. I mean, you could still. I've had an idea with a go-kart where the motor's here, and then you sit on the side of the motor and tranny, and then you shift the tranny right on the side of you. That would work. I don't know, but I think it's best in like a lawnmower or like a racing tractor setup, like a mini racing mower, or like I don't know, something with the motor in front of you. I have a video on my friend Chris's channel, Chris Custer, of a full suspension off-road mower that has this tranny in it. It's badass, but it's about all the time I got today. But just wanted to show some people who are interested a little bit deeper into this tranny. Yeah, have a good one.